I think it's safe to say 2020 has been arguably the most unpredictable season we have seen so far. I mean, to name a few, Lando's podium, the photo finish in Styria, and Lewis's three-wheeled win in Silverstone. But arguably the most groundbreaking news we've had all season is Sergio Perez getting the virus. And guess who came to save the day? Nico has been exceptional since his return to Formula 1, and many around the paddock and in the F1 community have reiterated how important it is to have Nico on the grid. So let's dive into why he deserves a seat in Formula 1 next year. But before we get into it guys, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss my latest videos in the future. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it if you could show some support. My Twitter handle is also @BMPHF1 if you want to follow me on there as well, but without further ado, let's get into it. So I think it's fair that we go back to the moment everything started. On Thursday the 30th of July at 2:20 PM, it was announced that Sergio Perez had tested positive for the Rona. From there, Racing Point team principal Otmar Zafnau called up Nico, who was busy eating pastries in Germany, to fly over to the UK as soon as possible. He was initially going to the Nürburgring to test the GT4 car, as well as taking part in a punditry outing for RTL, but all that went out the window when he got the call from Otmar at around 4:30 PM. From there, he packed his bags, hopped onto a plane and landed in Birmingham at around 7 PM. He then made his way to the team's base in Silverstone to undergo a seat fit, which didn't end until 2 AM. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he then had to get up at 8 AM to do an hour's worth of simulator testing before undergoing a second virus test on that Friday morning. The result of that test came back just 15 minutes before FP1 was scheduled to start, and once he was given the green light, he dashed through the paddock to the Racing Point garage. But he didn't actually have a race suit to wear, so he was given one of Lance Stroll's spare ones, which he managed to just about squeeze into, and after all that, he found himself in a Formula 1 car racing around Silverstone. Looking at his performance on that Friday, he was around 6/10 of his teammate over one lap, but given the circumstances, this was an incredibly strong effort from him. Nico not only proved how adaptable a driver he is by jumping straight into the car and being instantly on the pace, but also showed that he still has it in terms of driving a Formula 1 car and being able to give a thorough analysis of where the car feels good and where it needs improvement.
Generally car then, the front get quite a bit of stress. Feel the tailwind a lot, mid to exit of turn 7 and 16, 17 a lot, especially 16, 17 I've really struggled a lot and lost quite a bit of time there on all my laps because car feels like it doesn't really stop, the wind is pushing on, and then as you put on some lock the rear just steps out on you. High speed is obviously quite a lot of load, fairly comfortable there. I feel the steering is super direct and sensitive. You know, just a little input of steering and the car really boom reacts immediately, like kind of very active. I'm used to last year at Renault it was much slower steering rack, you know, and a variable rack, and this one is really so sharp. It gives a bit the sensation of being very on the nose. And ride is it's okay. In some places it's pretty harsh. In some places it's okay.
This comes as no surprise though, as he is such an experienced and intelligent driver who understands exactly how he wants his car to be set up. So all in all, Friday for the British Grand Prix was a huge success. Come Saturday in FP3, he closed that gap down to 0.2 of a second, and what was even more impressive in Q2, he closed that gap down to just 0.06 of a second, but narrowly missed the cut to make it into Q3. In the post-qualifying interviews, Nico said he didn't feel like he had extracted the maximum out of the car and he left quite a bit of time on the table. However, again, under the circumstances, he really outdid himself, and I don't think he could have driven any better after having very limited time in the car. However, on the morning of the race, the engineers found a drivetrain issue on the car, meaning he was unable to start, which was a real shame, considering he was only getting better with more experience in the car, and he definitely could have done with a few laps racing at the very least. Fast forward 1 week later, at the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix weekend, he was instantly on the pace and matching Stroll during the practice sessions, and by the time they got to Q3, this happened.
As we see Hulkenberg press the line, goes P3!
After just 1 week and with hardly any running in these 2020 cars, Nico Hulkenberg went from eating pastries to qualifying P3 and out-qualifying his teammates by 0.4 of a second. This just goes to show Nico's incredible raw speed, which can also be backed up by his previous qualifying performances like his P3 in Italy in 2013, his P2 in Austria in 2016, and of course, his one and only pole position in Brazil 2010. He's always had that natural ability to produce those stunning one-lap performances, and on his day, he's a threat to pretty much anyone in the right car. But Sundays haven't necessarily been as strong as his performance on a Saturday, with the most glaring stats out there being his lack of a podium over his 11-year career, if you include 2020. His race on Sunday for the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix, however, was mightily impressive. Even though he may not have gotten the podium we all wanted him to get, he still drove a great race, pulling away from the line very well, considering he had never done a race start under pressure before in the RP20. From there, he controlled his race to perfection right until the checkered flag, and even though the Racing Point mechanics pulled him in near the very end due to tyre vibrations, Hulkenberg still managed to finish P7 behind his teammates who he would have beaten had he not come in. The past 2 weeks have been what Hulkenberg described himself as crazy. His shock return to the paddock has got many people saying he deserves a seat in Formula 1 for 2021. Max Verstappen said, "He's happy to be here, and he should be anyway, because I still think he deserves a seat in Formula 1. Lewis Hamilton said that Hulkenberg looked like he never left, such was the impressive performance from him after Friday's practice session for the British Grand Prix. And to even be able to withstand those insane G-forces these 2020 cars pull through the high-speed corners, such as Copse, Maggots, Beckett, Stowe, etc., with minimal neck training, is incredible. Nico Hulkenberg has everything he could want in a Formula 1 driver. Experience, natural talent, adaptability, racecraft, qualifying pace, a high driver IQ, and much, much more. One factor that you could maybe hold against him is his lack of a killer mentality that is present among the current world champions or the future world champions. But what he brings to the table as it is by far outweighs this small negative, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree that he deserves a seat in 2021. If he didn't prove it last year, then he is certainly proving it this year, as he is hungrier than ever to show everyone what he is made of. Potentially, a team like Haas could pick him up and get rid of one of their current 2 drivers, as Nico's experience and adaptability would be able to help the team figure out how to go about their development moving forward. But currently, Ferrari are most definitely not in the best place, so as a result, the B team is struggling, as well as the junior team Alfa Romeo. Alternatively, Nico could end up signing for AlphaTauri, racing alongside Pierre Gasly, as their car is looking great this year and will probably be in a similar position next year. Gasly is also in the form of his life, therefore that driver pairing would be very strong and both drivers could push each other to new heights. If Nico was given one last opportunity to race in Barcelona this weekend, then I hope for an even better performance than last race, and now he actually has some race experience under his belt, he would be best positioned to take that elusive podium we all want him to achieve. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you're new to get my latest videos in the future. Leave your thoughts on Hulkenberg's return and whether you think he'll get a seat next year in the comment section below. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.